on what is now a rather cloudy and gloomy looking day here in northern Israel. Well, it's actually bright and sunny, just a lot of clouds. Whatever. So, current affairs. Let's tackle this one. Trump. Trump's crazy plan for Gaza has actually exposed and unveiled, so to speak, the lies and the truths about the situation in Gaza and the whole Israel Palestinian conflict and pro Palestinian anti Israel movement and the pro Israel anti Palestinian movement, if you want to say that. And one of the things it has exposed, again, whether you like Trump or not, whether you like his crazy plan or not, his crazy plan, by the way, in case you don't know, is that as of last week, he proposed to basically vacate Gaza by offering people a voluntary choice to leave, to go to a place where they would have a nicer situation. They'd have a housing, they'd have probably money in the bank account or who knows what. They'd be accepted as citizens of those countries and they could drop their permanent refugee status nonsense. How can people from Gaza be refugees in Gaza? But anyway, if they claim to be there from there for since forever and they live there, how are they Gaza? How are they refugees? They came from another part from within the same country, before the country was the country, as they say. Again, it has exposed a lot of nonsense. One of the things it has exposed, again, is once again, it is put on full display, as it does often, as the situation just does by itself, is that the people that claim to be pro one thing are not actually. They're just anti something else. For example, the people that claim to be pro-Palestinian, the most vocal ones who wear the keffiyehs that they appropriated from Iraq or wear the flag, the Palestinian flag, which was designed by the same British that designed the modern equivalent patterns of the red and the black fishnet patterns on the keffiyehs. So they're taking these British designs, I just think that's rather interesting, and they're wearing them in support of what they claim is pro-Palestinian activism and declaring that Zionism somehow is the problem. Well, if that's true, then why, when they're offered a situation to improve the lives of the Palestinians, do they actually reject it? Because they just want to keep fighting against Israel. And the answer is because it's not a fight against Israel. There are people who do not believe that Jews have the right to have their own homeland and do not have the right to autonomy in their own homeland. It's that simple. It is a religious war, whether you are religious or not. There are extremists, whether they are religious or not, who take the militant Islamist view that there should not ever be Jews allowed to live in the ancestral Jewish homeland. That's what this war is about. That's what this war has always been about since more than 100 years, since hundreds and hundreds of years. In fact, since Muhammad started going around trying to forcibly and actually forcibly converting Jews to Islam, and then going around and conquering a whole bunch of other lands and colonizing them, right? That was the beginning of Arab colonization of the Middle East, not just the Arabian Peninsula, but the Middle East, North Africa, Turkey, well, what is called Turkey now, and even Spain, Arab, and all the way out to Persia, obviously. This has always been a religious war of conquest for the Muslims who take that view. Not all Muslims view this way, of course. There are, I would say, at least hundreds of millions who do not. I don't know if it's half or more. It's really hard to assume that. People tend to estimate that the number or the percentage of extremists in the Islamic world is around 10%. And they grant the other 90% a pass. They say, oh, they're probably not extremists. Well, if you have the view that Islam is a holy war and that you have to subjugate everyone else or force them to convert or kill them, then you are an extremist. I don't care what you say in moderate words. If you take the view that people who do not believe in your version of God should be subjugated or killed or forced to convert, then you are an extremist. Even if you pray to in the most liberal of the Muslim churches on earth, if that is your view there, you are an extremist. You may be the least extremist of all the people in your religion, but you're still an extremist. Even if you're a secular person and you speak in moderate terms and you're always willing to compromise politically, but you actually say, this is just a hudna, a temporary ceasefire, while we regroup and rearm and resupply and get ready for the next round of attacks, and we are openly lying to our negotiating partners, then you are an extremist. What Trump has offered, who will win then? That's a very good question. Ultimately, I believe that good wins in the long arc of history. It just can take some time. If you say that making the Palestinians leave Gaza is ethnic cleansing, I say to you, you didn't listen to President Trump's words. He said specifically, voluntary migration. That means they would choose to leave. By definition, that is not ethnic cleansing. And if they are offered a better situation elsewhere and they choose to take it, by the way, there are people who have left Gaza in the last 10, 20 years, some in terms of emergency medicine, some in terms of they felt like they wanted better security elsewhere, so they left for the sake of their children, and they could afford to bribe the Egyptians at the gate, because it's the Egyptians who block them, remember, not just Israel. The Egyptians block them, and the Egyptians are supposed to be their brothers, right? In fact, most of the people that live in Gaza came from Egypt. Some came from Saudi Arabia, some came from other parts of Judea and Samaria when they had migrated to there from Iraq or Syria or Lebanon, right? And back in 1948 or later, 67 or after that, some of them migrated to Gaza. But most of them come from Egypt. So why wouldn't Egypt accept people that used to be Egyptians, that only called themselves Palestinians since after 1964? In fact, way after 1964, because even though in 1964, the PLO, the body that created the PLO, were formed, it took another 10 years before the average Palestinian Anyway, I'm getting close to the because I have something coming up. But I will talk with you guys later more of this. And in the meantime, what I say is just keep an open mind. Realize that things that sound crazy at one time are not entirely crazy. And history is full of recent and relevant examples, like after World War II, when people were displaced, some voluntarily, some less so. And the Europeans, with the Allies, rebuilt those areas, and they have been peaceful now for more than 75 years, right? 80 years now. So anyway, more to say about this later. Peace.